I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter saying Chase is out here winning a championship in 2020. Is it weird that I'm a Chase fan and I don't think he's gonna win a championship in 2020? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm like obligated to do that, but I don't really believe in it.
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the.
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be talking about Hendrick Motorsports. We're going to recap their 2019 season, but I'm also going to give a little insight on my opinions on the problems with Hendrick and why they have not been performing. I mean, it's been 50-50 kind of on the driver and the organization standpoint. I don't think the drivers are necessarily to blame, and I don't think the organization is necessarily to blame. Or, I don't know, I think it's kind of evenly, the blame can be put on both kind of evenly. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and comment down below your guys' thoughts. And I have a quick message from our partners over at NASCAR Talk America. NASCAR Talk America is an ever-growing NASCAR Discord server with a plethora of things to do. You can talk about any of the series here in the Talk Arena. You can go and look at NASCAR stats and news in this little section here. You got the booth for when there's actual races, which I miss NASCAR so much. Hopefully someday it'll come back. Oh wait, it's actually what, 48 days until the Daytona 500. Cannot wait until that. But when there's actual races, this is where you guys can talk about the race while it's happening. The voice channel is here is when you can talk at any time. You know, you can talk about other sports as well, and motorsports. You can, share all your stuff here. Here's also our voting and all of that, and just some other miscellaneous stuff. I have my own little tab here, and just kind of some miscellaneous stuff. Also, don't forget to participate in the question of the day. Asked pretty much every single day, and then you can answer it here. A great Discord server that I have a lot of fun on, and y'all should come join me. I'm pretty active on there, so we can have NASCAR discussions and stuff. But that's about all I got. Thank you, NASCAR Talk America, for being such great partners. So Jimmie Johnson had another not so great 2019 season, missing the playoffs / chase, the postseason for the first time in his career, which is a pretty good feat considering it's been almost 20 years since that was no, I can't do math. It's been about 15 years since that was implemented, so he's never missed a postseason. He misses it for the first time this year. Has worst career average finish of 17.4. Did not capture a win. Had 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s. So Jimmie Johnson, not a great season from him, but there was a lot of changes. There was a new crew chief at the beginning, then halfway through they changed the crew chief. Kevin Meandering, I think he gets a lot of flack just because of how Cliff Daniels kind of turned Jimmie Johnson around. And Cliff Daniels, I don't think Cliff Daniels even turned him around right away. There was a little bit of a buffer period, but as it went on, he seemed to get better, and we'll see what can happen with Cliff Daniels having a full off season under his belt, and a kind of half a season, I guess, under his belt as well. But Kevin Meandering, I think a lot of people give him hate. I think he didn't do too bad, but just wasn't a good place for him. I don't think starting with Jimmie Johnson, I think there's kind of some pressure there, and he just kind of cracked under it. But we'll see how that continues on. But anyways, Jimmie Johnson, there's no real bright spot besides Chicagoland and Texas, 2 races under Kevin Meandering. That he was in the top 5 for most of the day, showed a lot of speed, and finished with the top 5. Those are really the only 2 races I can point to as a bright spot for Jimmie Johnson. He was, like I said, he was unable to make the chase, and just a not good season. He's got one more season left. We'll see if he can do it. I feel like Cliff Daniels is probably the best crew chief they can provide him, and we'll see how it goes. Alex Bowman had a roller coaster ride of a season, with finishing 12th in the point standings and an average finish of 14.4, the best of anybody else at Hendrick. Had 1 win at Chicago, which we'll get into in just a minute, and 7 top 5s along with 12 top 10s. Alex Bowman is a driver who receives a lot of hate, which I want to get to in a future video, but I just kind of wanted to add that little thing in there, that unless you're an Alex Bowman fan, and I am an exception to that, you probably hate him. I don't think there's a lot of people that like Alex Bowman, just because Oh wait, there's no reason. Oh, well. Anyways, Alex Bowman had a roller coaster ride of a season. Starting out, kind of and then he hit this just hot streak starting at Dover where he finished second. And, he had a fast car. Just Martin Truex Jr. had an insanely fast car. And definitely not anything to knock on him for finishing second there. Goes to Talladega, doesn't get the opportunity to pass Chase Elliott. And if had that caution not come out, we could be talking about a two-time winner here in the season, of course. But he could have won that very possibly. He said he thought he might have gotten a run on him. I mean, there's no way to tell or anything like that, but he definitely had a chance there. Then we go to Kansas. He had the win in the bag. Not really in the bag, but it was once again, it was down to him or Chase Elliott. And then Brad Keselowski on fresher tires passed him. Bowman did all he could. He just did not have the car to hold off somebody with fresher tires, and fresher tires prevailed. But then just a couple weeks later, he went out, dueled with Kyle Larson, which if you watched my Chip Ganassi video, I believe is one of the, despite his interest not being in the sport, is one of the most talented drivers in the sport still. And he went, dueled with, and he's still hungry for one, I'm sure. Dueled with him and came out on top even after losing the lead. Showed a lot of talent there. And kind of after that Chicagoland race, we had a good Charlotte race, which actually came before that, but I just had to mention that as well. He kind of cooled off a little bit. And then we get to the Charlotte Roval, where he's in a very precarious situation where he needs to almost win to get in. And he has the pole, seems to have the fastest car, and then unfortunately wrecks in a practice. Of course, everyone says he's untalented because he wrecked in a practice. Just about everybody has wrecked in a practice in their career. But he starts at the rear, runs into some controversy, wrecks on the first lap. And people are complaining about him for being way too aggressive. But I mean, this man could have been driving for his job. Maybe Rick Hendrick said, you don't have any sponsorship. If you're not going to make it out of the round of 16, why should I rehire you? I mean, I'm sure he didn't say that, but he's probably thinking that. He knows he's driving for his job, especially without that nationwide sponsorship. So why shouldn't he be aggressive? And then Bubba Wallace, got Alex Bowman angry. I mean, he's flipping him off that's disrespectful. And Alex Bowman, maybe shouldn't have dumped him, maybe just nudged him, but we had that whole situation happened. But I don't blame Bubba for retaliating either. If you guys are going to say that, I don't blame Bubba for retaliating. I think it was in a poor manner, but retaliation, I believe, was warranted by Bubba. Anyways, continuing on, Alex Bowman still battles through the field besides having two incidents, and comes second, passing Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, drivers racing for a championship, and then finishes second. Got a little lucky with Ryan Newman making the first mistake he's made in his almost 20-year-long career. I don't think I've ever seen him make a mistake. He made one, and it helped, Bowman get into the next round. He goes into the next round. He has a really great race at Dover. Looks like he might make it to the round of 8. Wrecks at Talladega. Gets to Kansas and just has an issue, and it was just kind of done from there. But still a great season. Like seeing the improvement on last season. We saw more aspects of just how talented he is, and hopefully he's able to stay in that 88 car for many years to come. There's been talks about that 88 or Ally moving over to Bowman, which I think would be perfect because it gives Bowman kind of his own identity separate from the nationwide brand that Dale Jr. had. So I do kind of like that partnership there. It gives Ally a driver too, that'll be there for a while rather than Jimmie Johnson. William Byron had him a complete turnaround of a season, finishing 11th in the point standings, had an average finish of 14.9, notched up 5 poles, earning him the Rocket Man Jr. title at some point. I mean, I think he just went 3 races in a row where he got the pole and then got 2 other ones. Had 5 top 5s and 13 top 10s on the season. I think we all can agree that Chad Canales was a huge part of William Byron's success. The talent was always there. He just needed a crew chief that would unlock it. And I think this will set him up for an even better 2020, where he will, you know, who knows, maybe surpass Alex Bowman. I don't think that's really out of the question. I think they both are really talented drivers, and I don't think it's fair to really compare them to each other. But I think, you know, he could take that next step, being the second best driver behind Chase Elliott, where Alex Bowman is now. And I think Alex Bowman could take the same step, where, you know, he's right behind Chase Elliott. And, you know, I'm about to talk about Chase Elliott and say, you know, he's not as good as everybody says. So it's a lot of contradicting statements here. But anyways, there's a lot of different things that could happen here. But moving on, you know, I liked what I saw from William Byron. Like I said, the polls showed that, you know, they're trying to get William Byron in the track position at the beginning of the race, and it didn't work out that much. I mean, he would, you know, start out stage one, he'd get a good finish, but as the race went on, he would kind of fade away. He would struggle in, you know, getting the whole race. There were some races where he would get these 5 top 5s are examples of races where he was able to string together a whole race, or at least be there at the end. I think at least 1 or 2 are super speedways. But I think this is something that, continuing into next season, is something that he will have to continue to develop. He would, you know, have fast cars at the beginning, but once he fell out of that, you know, clean air, his car would kind of just, you know, like I said, fade away. And Chad Knaus, I think any crew chief to really help William Byron with getting whole races together, Chad Knaus would be the one. So I'm not too worried about it at the moment. And I mean, you saw it with Chase Elliott when he was in his first couple of years. He would have great starts, or he would just have great finishes. He wouldn't seem to be able to put together whole races. It's a very common thing amongst young drivers, you know, because, you know, they have, I mean, this is long races to them. It's the longest races they've ever done. So having to accommodate for more laps than you're used to, it's not the easiest thing to adjust to, but I think William Byron is getting adjusted to it towards the end of the season. Martinsville is a very good example of a race where he was able to put it together pretty well a whole race. I don't think he really started at the front, but once he got up front, he stayed up front. So I like seeing that from him. I think that was a good example, and he actually seemed to there's question that he could possibly give Martin Truex Jr. a run for his money there. It never happened, but still liked what I saw from William Byron this year. A great year all in all. And now for the moment y'all have been waiting for, Chase Elliott. He had a 10th place points finish, which I said earlier, he was in the round of 8. So that just tells you how badly he tanked there at the end. But he had an average finish of 15.1, 3 wins, 11 top 5s, and 15 top 10s. So if you push aside that he has 4 more top 5s than that of, Alex Bowman, kind of similar finishes, obviously, besides his 3 wins, to that of his teammates. I did not really like what I saw from Chase Elliott this year. I saw somebody who just could not seem to string together consistent finishes. He would go off, he would win, he'd get a couple good finishes, and then he would go, it's just a very inconsistent, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And he would go on streaks. I mean, he went on just the entire summer the entire summer season. He just was abysmal, really. I think the last good race was the Charlotte Coke 600, and then, or Dover maybe. Dover was probably the last good race from him, and then he kind of just checked out until Watkins Glen, and then after that he kind of started getting better. But that summer was hard for Chase Elliott fans. He would have mechanical failures, or he just wouldn't really be up to par. He'd just kind of be mediocre, and it was not a fun time to be a Chase Elliott fan. Luckily, around the playoffs, he started turning it on again. It seems like Watkins Glen is that race where he starts kind of coming back and looking better. And but once we finally got to the playoffs, he was there, but his car wasn't there. His car was most definitely not there. He had many of mechanical failures. I mean, Martinsville, I think, what did he have, like 3-1 in the race, counting practice? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, especially coming from Hendrick. And now we're going to kind of get to the Hendrick as a whole, and that I don't really see it with William Byron as much, or Jimmie Johnson. Well, yeah, Jimmie Johnson, actually, when I looked through, he had more part failures than I actually had previously thought, and it seemed like to be races that he was actually doing somewhat decent. So as I continue to get to the point here is mainly with Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott. I saw this, but it seemed like they'd finally be having a good day. You know, Bowman would run in the top 10, Chase in the top 5, top 3, leading at times. I mean, Martinsville's a great example. He charged from last to first, really. I mean, I think he's like third when it all happened. But then I think his axle broke, if I'm not mistaken. There was a mechanical failure. He was able to run the race, but he was 40 laps down trying to fix that. Another example would be Bristol. He had the pole. He pulled away. He looked like he was the fastest car out there. Then he got in a wreck, which again is not a mechanical failure. That is low-key due to his part. I don't think there's really much he could do in that situation, but just an unfortunate happening. It's not all the mechanical failures, not all the drivers. There are just situations that are unhelpable. But a lot of the stuff I saw, Alex Bowman would have an issue, and along with Chase Elliott, and there was times where like the whole team would have issues. So I don't know. There's inconsistency with the drivers, but at the same time there's inconsistencies with the parts of the cars in general, I guess would be the better term. So we'll see if they're able to clean that up. I think if they clean that up, Chase Elliott could have made the championship four. ISM and Martinsville were two races where he had a fast car. Martinsville, I think he would have won that race. ISM maybe not so much, but he still had a strong car, and if he was able to finish Martinsville, maybe just a solid finish at ISM would have been enough to get him into the next round. Texas, I forgot to mention Texas. Texas was his doing. I don't know what he was doing on the outside, but that was his doing. Like I said, it's not all the driver, not all the manufacturer, but definitely a sloppy season from Hendrick, from a Hendrick team standpoint. It's not typical that we see mechanical failures like this. I mean, every team has them, but not at this volume that we saw from Hendrick. And it was frustrating as a fan to see Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman or Jimmie Johnson, or just the entire team, one of the drivers having a great day and ended by mechanical failure. It's frustrating for any fan, and it's an unfortunate truth that we have to face in this sport, but I just did not like how many. It wasn't appeasing to see how many mechanical failures Hendrick has. So hopefully they clean that up over the off season. But that's one thing. I think if they didn't have as many mechanical failures as they had, they would have had a much better season. And we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not too concerned. I think this driver core they have now with Alex Bowman, Alex Bowman, William Byron, and Chase Elliott, I think this is a future. I think this is the future. I think these are all drivers that will compete for championships. I know Alex Bowman haters are like, whoa, this man ain't competing for wins. What do you mean? But William Byron doesn't have a win, so I don't know what y'all are talking about. But anyways, as for who I think will replace the 48, hopefully not Noah Gragson right away. Hopefully they put somebody, who knows, Chris Buescher could possibly work his way in there if he does good enough at JTG this year. There's also other candidates like Kyle Larson and stuff like that, but I've been rambling for too long. Maybe I need to make some other videos, but hope you guys enjoy. If you did, make sure you leave a like, hit the subscribe button, comment down below you guys' thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.